by for stand by for contact.
Hey, we're live!
We are live.
I'm gonna get the intro up in a second, but it's gonna take 1 second, so.
We're experiencing technical difficulties, and we're not wearing pants.
And you can't see us, so you're just hearing voices from space.
Voices from space. Pantsless voices from space.
Oh yeah, we got an exciting show today!
Let me tell you something, brother!
Oh yeah!
Tonight's show. Who are you, brother?
I don't know. You guys took the good ones already.
We are the good ones. We're the best ones.
They took the macho
Sit
man.
here, little man, with your degree and your glasses! And your Sean Connery beard!
They just sound
Do
like...
you know what a power bomb is? Because I will teach you very well!
You sound like my accountant taking a dump.
Well, that's what Randy Savage sounded like.
Ooh yeah, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Why does it look like you're massaging two giant testicles?
That's what he used to do. He would just hold his hands up like this. Ooh yeah.
Oh yeah!
We should all do Randy Savage.
Show everybody's gonna be Randy Savage.
How can everybody be Randy Savage? The thing is, Hogan was like, the Beatles, but I think 100 years from now, when they say, be a wrestler from back in the day, there will be Randy Savage impressions. He's become like, almost like the cliche of what a wrestler is. Like, his performance. See, the thing he had on Hogan is, let's face it, Hogan was a personality. His wrestling skills were not that great. He didn't do anything to... I mean, his finishing move was dropping a leg.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the neutered American Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan in Japan did fucking arm drags, and his finishing move was a clothesline.
Nice.
And he had a more, definitely a more wrestling-oriented style. That's Vince McMahon being like, oh no, you gotta do the 3 punches and the whole no thing, and, sell the fucking... the shit over and over, like the same routine.
I just thought that Randy Savage was more the total package, the over-the-top personality plus the wrestling ability.
Dude, he's a fucking great wrestler.
Yeah. So I don't know, I just like, if it's a Beatles-Stones argument, like Savage-Hogan argument, like, I think Savage is an absolute icon. Like,
see, to
the
me,
best and worst of professional wrestling.
I don't know what the Beatles-Stone argument would be in professional wrestling, but to me it was always Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin. Like,
yeah.
And like, you don't even know Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, he's a bald guy with a goatee.
He doesn't like, he got his name because his wife made the tea Stone Cold or something.
Yeah, but do you know what, like WWE came up with instead of Stone Cold? They were like, why don't we call you Chili McFreeze? And they came up with shit that was like bad Arnold Schwarzenegger puns from fucking Batman Forever. Or
Nice.
Batman and Robin, whichever one.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. Oh my god.
I think, Stone Cold is much cooler than Hulk Hogan ever was, man.
Who do you think is more bankable as a star?
That's a good question. I think more generations know Hulk Hogan, but those people are going to die off.
Did you ever see Steve Austin's movies?
No, I don't think I have.
Did you ever see Hulk Hogan's?
Yes. unfortunately.
Steve Austin fucking made movies that were like pretty kick-ass, actually.
No shit.
Wasn't he like an extra in a pretty big movie?
He was an extra in The Longest Yard.
Yes, the remake, right?
The remake with Burt
Yeah.
Reynolds and
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
who was it? Sandler, right?
yeah, it was Sandler. Yeah, I thought he was pretty good, but he was in something else, or maybe he just made a cameo in a sitcom or something. But I don't know. He seems like a pretty normal guy. And I've seen interviews with him because, like, back then I used to work in the news, and I'd be running what they called acquisitions, where I'd be running the tapes, recording all the shit that's coming in from all over the world, and we would just roll on the stupidest shit. And sometimes, the satellite guy would put on wrestling, and then I could punch it up and listen to it while I'm waiting. So occasionally I'd watch, wrestling here and there, but I don't know. The bulk of my knowledge is from like the meager beginnings to like the 90s, the early 90s. And then I just kind of moved on to comic books.
What did you tap out of wrestling?
I would say probably in the 90s. Probably when I first started like really getting laid. I think that was pretty much it. It was like either getting laid or wrestling. Wrestling was gone. I was kind of went like in my early 20s. Just
Boy, I would have a field day with that.
I went for social life. I don't know. I kind of blossomed in my 20s. I was kind of
you were too
wallflower in the
cool for
teens.
wrestling, and what year was that?
I don't know, 1999 or 1998.
Yeah, right when wrestling
Probably
came back and
96.
became cool.
I mean, I popped in and out a little bit. For me, wrestling was huge for me in like the 80s. Like when we were kids, we were super into it, and that was kind of like the Hulk Hogan and
Big John Studd, Andre the Giant,
all those guys.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah. Who had acting skills like him? Come on, the Bushwhackers. I stuck around a little bit for the
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah, that's another one. You mean Jesse the Mind, right?
No, he's the body again.
George the Animal Steel was a good one.
George the Animal Steel was the man.
Right? With the green tongue.
Yeah. I always loved him. I love when wrestlers act. I think
Yes.
that's like one of my favorite things because those guys, like, people underestimate him. Like, I
Right.
thought George the Animal Steel was fucking awesome as Tor Johnson and Ed Wood.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's like the role. Yeah, granted, he's born to fucking play that role.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
a bald wrestler playing a bald wrestler.
Right.
But, like, he really did fucking sell it. Like, watching that, like, who's to say he doesn't actually have that weird accent that Tor Johnson had.
Right.
Do you think like Burton asked for him by name, or do you think like
I think absolutely.
Burton has, like,
I
a
think
casting
Tim
person
Burton
that-
fucking watches wrestling. I would think.
why wouldn't he? I mean, he seems to have an affinity for absurdity.
every weird, like, absurd goth person I know fucking watches wrestling. Whether they'll talk about it or not.
Oh, in the late 90s, all the chrome leather pants guys were all into Sting with his new look. That like monochrome fucking.
Yeah, the crow stick.
Yeah.
Bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. He has a name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, he like just ripped off the crow.
Pretty much.
Thing.
See, even though I was out, I would still kind of peek. And
Me too.
My buddy Brian Wexler, I remember jumping back in two reasons. One, there was a Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels match in one of the WrestleManias.
Okay.
And it was very well choreographed. It was a work of art. Like, those guys are great.
For sure.
And then there was like a Royal Rumble of all the old school characters in a WrestleMania about 10 years ago.
WrestleMania X7, I think. Iron Sheik
Iron Sheik
won it
Oh,
because
that's right.
he couldn't take the bump over the top rope.
Yeah, so they just let him
Knees
win.
were so bad, so that's why he went over.
And I think Okerlund was commentating.
I think Heenan too.
Yeah. Oh man, what did you think of Bobby Heenan? I mean, you were like a kid,
Dude,
like-
I thought Bobby Heenan was like the fucking greatest thing because he was just such he would always call Hulk Hogan out on his shit, like, and kind of like, because Hulk Hogan did a lot of bad shit as a wrestler. Between trying to steal Randy Savage's wife, he always fucking rakes the eyes. That's a heel move.
Yeah.
There's times like where he
the dark side of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, no, there's times where he's gone and like grabbed a chair to like beat Sid Vicious. Like, that's not shit that like the good guy in a match typically does.
Right.
While he's at his apex of red and yellow goodness, like I don't know. He was always like weird. Like as a kid, I never trusted Hulk Hogan.
I don't either.
Was it because don't do drugs and eat your vitamins? Like, did that throw you off? Because I know you have this thing against vitamins.
Dude, that guy shot so many vitamins into his arms.
Oh yeah. Actually, fucking the Macho Man too, man.
No.
Yeah.
The Macho Man never did drugs, brother. Yeah, and he would always do this. He wouldn't do this like I was doing off camera, where it looked like I was groping two men's testicles.
Oh, Jesus.
The Macho Man would always do this. Ooh, yeah, and just put his fingers up and do weird shit with his eyes. Like, fucking just a weirdo, man. My favorite promo from back then was Ultimate Warrior, where he'd just go.
Where the stars align,
That's right.
the plane will crash down. Do you think the Ultimate Warrior was ridiculous? Like, the interview was almost pointless. But do you think that era is like, you know, like what we look now as the early rock and roll of the 50s? It was like the coming of age, and then by the time you get Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's the Beatles period.
No,
or do you
Stone
think...
Cold Steve Austin is like fucking Metallica, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I
When
agree.
you think about wrestling, like if you think back to like, it used to be this segmented kind of like there was all these different territories. Is before Vince McMahon took over, there was all these different places.
Yeah, the
there.
biggest competition. What was it? The one that turned around. What was it?
Well, there was like
WCW.
WCW, which was
And they had a lot of good wrestlers. I mean, they had Flair. They had the Road Warriors. You know, they had all like
well,
you know,
those
the
dudes would
iconic.
jump back and forth.
Yeah, no, because McMahon was throwing more money.
Well, not even, dude. There was a time. I mean, all right. So back in the day, like you think about, like I would say the golden age of wrestling is probably
Bruno Sammartino,
like the 70s. Yeah, like the Sammartino, and you know, you still had Andre the Giant kind of in its prime.
Yeah.
Like that's when Andre the Giant was like could move in the ring. Like the Andre the Giant that I remember was a very slow moving, like obviously in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But getting a big paycheck and was still an attraction because he's fucking 9 feet tall or whatever. You know, he's a monster, but he wasn't. He was just.
And talk about brilliant casting. I mean, him and Princess Bride. I mean,
He was probably one of the first wrestlers to really cross over.
You think?
I do. Yeah. What was the what year was that?
I'm sure there's
85?
some example of somebody in the '60s getting into a movie.
Yeah, there always is.
Or like Bruno
After that.
Sammartino's like wrestling in the background of some like I don't know.
I'd say it was in the 80s, early 90s, because it was before the Wonder Years, right? They had the kid from the Wonder Years in that movie.
Yeah, so, yeah, you know what? I mean, well, Hogan's first movie was that movie versus that ridiculous Zeus character that they brought in.
No, Hogan's first movie was fucking Rocky 3, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thunderlips.
If you count that, yeah.
Well, you gotta count that.
Yeah.
You know, like Rocky 3, I think is what made. Vince McMahon always hated when his guys would go out and do movies. I think that.
Well, now he owns a studio, so now he doesn't give a shit.
Well, yeah, but back in the day, you had, you had Andre doing Princess Bride. You had Jesse Ventura doing Predator and Running Man. You had Hulk Hogan doing.
But by then, Jesse was on the outs with McMahon anyway, and kind of
But
vanished.
still, you had Piper doing They Live.
Yeah.
You had Piper doing a lot of shit. He's in a lot of movies.
For sure.
And
He had a great cameo in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
dude, Roddy Piper is the man.
He is.
He's one of the coolest people I ever met at Chili Theater, to go back to Chili Theater. He's just like, come on, man, take a picture. My cameraman's drunk. He's not going to charge him. Like, just all fucking wasted. Like, just the life of the party, man. He was just so cool. He just loves to talk to people and bullshit.
Did you ever hear that crazy story where they're like, okay, kick Cyndi Lauper in the head? And she's like, her end is your beginning, or something like that. Some guy was talking in his ear to like legit kick Cyndi Lauper for like publicity during that whole rock and wrestling stunt, which was very helpful for the WWF. I think they gained a lot of fans. They just tapped right in. Like McMahon is a smart dude. But,
He's a good businessman.
but his hands are dirty.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just like any good businessman.
But dude, but think about any wrestling promoter. I mean, he has the means certainly to give health insurance, but the business has been the business for so long.
Does that make it right? I mean,
those guys.
No, it doesn't make it right. It gives it. It's like the music business, in a way, because if we go and make a big stink about like not getting paid, you know, like bands back in the fucking 80s used to get paid.
Oh yeah.
Once the internet happened, nobody really leaves the house as much anymore.
I think that's true.
Oh, it's absolutely true, because you used to go to shows even if you didn't like the show that was happening, to kind of like meet people and find out what the fuck else was going on, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, what other shows you know are coming up? Like, you would talk to people. They would hand you a flyer in real life.
See who you could realistically want to play with, and see who draws.
It was even before I was in bands. It was just to see what was going on. Like, it was something to do. It was you go out, you meet people, you know, you meet girls, whatever. Like, that was our way of going out. Like, and doing shit and socializing.
In the 90s too, man. I mean, we were part of a scene, man. Like, we felt like we were part of a scene. Like, we were in the know. We knew what was going on. Like, 16, 17 years old, sneaking out and going to fucking clubs in, like, Newark or even the city.
Yeah.
And shit like that. Like, you know, because we were so into that fucking music, you know?
Yeah.
We're just so into those fucking bands, and we just really want to know every little.
But the
now that we're
bands,
talking about music, I have to change costumes.
well, with the bands though, and they don't even know that's a pink bandana because I put you in black and white.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But now
That's
they know,
okay.
because I told them.
Randy Savage.
Yo, you should hang it out of your back pocket.
I will.
Oh.
Wait,
What does that mean?
Does that mean something? Doesn't that mean like I want to get fisted?
Put it in your left
I'm
pocket.
not putting that anywhere.
I feel like if
nobody's putting anything anywhere.
No, but
I feel like if you wore that with your complexion, people would call you Strawberry.
Yo, strawberry.
Come here, Strawberry.
You know what? I'll fucking take Strawberry. I have had many worse nicknames. I was Goldilocks in high school.
You had long hair.
And yeah, like in gym class, like there was like this group of like, you know, agricultural kids, and I was in like business classes, like the misfits.
Farm boys?
And we would like split teams, so it was like the burnouts versus the real actual jocks. And most of them weren't even fucking trying anyway. But like one time we beat them in a football match.
Nice, they hate that.
Yeah, we were like, ah! It was, and I was like, you know, from the arm of the golden locks is what I said. And they're like, Goldilocks. I you know, because I used to talk in hyperbole.
Should we play the intro?
Let's do it.
Hooray!
We're gonna play the intro. A few minutes late. Sorry about that. My fault. Computers.
Standby for contact.
The following program is for adults only. Parental guidance is suggested. In other words, we're gonna be fucking swearing and talking about fucked up shit. Get your goddamn kids away! Leave me alone!
That's my favorite. We're gonna be fucking swearing.
You're listening to Cult Contempt Podcast. All other podcasts are tiny grains of sand in the Sahara. We're the whole freaking desert! Oh yeah!
Hey guys, Jim Cook. It's a really crazy week. Trying to find an intern for this thing, and since I was the new guy, I drew the short straw to do the interviews. You would not believe the crazy applicants that we've got. This podcast attracts a weird crowd. So what brings you here?
My car? Well, actually, it's my mom's car. Well, she doesn't really know that I have a good car, but I really want to work here, so my car brought me here.
So, that guy Paul, has he got a girlfriend or what?
I just want, like, some easy credit. I don't know if, like, Wednesday will really work for me.
I was just wondering, like, who's that guy Phil, and why did he ask to see my feet when I got here?
Come up for a swallow, my granny's got an empty. You're an absolute roaster.
What have I gotta blow to get this internship?
Who do I have to blow to get this internship?
Thanks for having me, but has there ever been a girl in here before? Because I don't know.
So can I blow the fellow with the glasses?
Could I, live here for a little while? Like, my place is having some problems, and I just need a place to crash for a few days. Would that be cool?
Yeah, Paul gave me an answer to that question in advance. Yeah. Fuck no. What qualifications do you have?
I am made of the DNA of the greatest leaders of all time!
My goldfish are constantly amused by me.
So, you boys want to run a podcast? I can help.
Why are you touching my leg?
It's okay. Boys have urges for boys too.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out. But thank you for your time.
A man in my position deserves more than an internship. I should be the star. You are like a grain of sand in the Sahara Desert. And on the entire desert, you'll be a footnote of my epic ass!
God! This is Richard Dreyfuss! You're listening to Cult of Contempt podcast! God!
Richard Dreyfuss should actually have some marching band.
Wait, I have to sing the song.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cult of Contempt.
Really?
Cult of Contempt.
Cult of Contempt.
Cult of Contempt.
That's us.
Wednesdays at 8:15.
That's right, 8:15.
I wrote that for you.
Each individual you.
I want to thank Allie Cook, Allie McDowell, and Alan Tepper from the Strip Down Aces for helping me with that bit.
They did excellent. That shit was funny as hell.
Alan Tepper is one of the best bass players I freaking know. And it's funny, he kind of looks like Beck's bass player. You know the guy with the fro and he always had the cool moves? I don't know. Were you into Beck?
Yeah, I like Beck.
Like, I like the party stuff with Beck. Like, Midnight Vultures is a great record.
I like that song "Loser" when I was like a little
kid.
kid.
So you see, like the first
When I was
Mellow
like,
Gold.
When
Yeah,
I was like a little kid, that was like, yeah, it's like weird. It's like a stoned guy talking over hip hop. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I like that too.
Beck has a song "I Won't Be Long" that came out in like 2013. I saw it online one day. Like, oh, Beck released a new single. I'm like, I'll check this out, dude. That's one of the fucking best songs I've ever heard.
No shit.
That guy can fucking write a song.
Check out. Have you ever heard the single "Time Bomb"? It's like I
don't know.
It's almost like a dance hit. It's like, but it's got this constant beat.
I got a devil's haircut. I love that.
Oh,
that's the shit.
Because the thing is like he knows a good hook. Whether he's using a robot sound or a fucking guitar riff, like he knows a good hook and he knows where to put it.
There's shit too, like he's definitely sampled stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then probably played over it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so it's not the actual sample, but you know you're hearing something that
is familiar.
Like, is familiar to you, yeah, like
that dude in New Pollution, like that's gotta be from some old.
There's like weird garage shit in there, like garage rock stuff, and like just all kinds of. I always like him because he just makes. It's kind of the same, like the Gorillaz. You ever heard of Gorillaz?
Yes, definitely.
I'm starting to come around to them. Their drummer was in the John Spencer Blues Explosion.
Dude, that band fucking rocks.
Yeah.
And he was in a band called Buttero 8, which was really obscure, but I think I had like two of the girls from Chibo Mayo, and I think one of them was banging Sean Lennon. I think I have this right. I don't know if anybody knows. Buttero 8, Buttero 69. I don't know. Anyway.
Butter 69.
What was our original point? I opened so many windows. Click.
Oh my god.
Now we have 500 fucking tabs open.
Damn it! Do you get obsessed with the tabs?
No, dude. Have you ever? My file management is a fucking disaster.
Yeah, mine too.
I had the band over last week. The rare, like twice a month occurrence where a couple of us are in the same room doing something.
Okay.
And it's like oh yeah, we all want to do something on this song, but fucking idiot over here can't find it, you know, because I have like 20 hard drives in my computer and fucking an external and this and that, and my file management is just absolutely garbage. And I'm realizing that it's becoming a problem in my life, and I will take the steps to fix my time management. I'm telling you, the audience, not you guys, that I'm gonna fix my file management problem, not my time management problem. Not fixing that.
You heard about it here. Hold his feet to the fire.
No, you know what we broke first? Speaking of news,
what's that?
Joe Biden.
Oh yeah.
We exposed him, and now it's all coming out.
I'm sorry, I'm so touchy-feely. That's just the way I grew up.
When he put his hat in the ring, a bunch of my Democrat friends from Sussex County were like, "Oh, Joe's a good, charisma, blah blah blah." And I'm like, dude, like, I think he's part of the old guard.
Yes.
One. And two, there's some stuff that looks really bad on the internet.
The old guy that's like, how old are you? 10? Ever been fingered in the butt?
Oh, Jesus, I wasn't implying that. Oh, my God.
You look adorable. Let me kiss you on the cheeks and in other appropriate areas.
I apologize to the Biden family.
He's a little handsy, though. If you look at those videos,
I think it's really weird. I think it's a psychological thing.
Did you come into that thinking like, this dumb asshole is just gonna show me some stupid shit that's not gonna be creepy, and then you saw it and it's like, oh, that's very concerning.
Yeah. No, but see, that's what I like about you both. You guys keep people honest.
Try.
You know, I mean,
yeah.
But I'm learning from experience. You can't keep people honest all the time. You have to like pick and choose when
your battles.
But if they're public, figures, fuck them.
Yeah.
And
well, the more power
what Biden did is inappropriate. I don't really honestly think he's like some kind of weirdo rapey dude. I don't think he's like that creepy character in the interview thing. But I don't know, like...
I think he's biding his time.
To become a substitute teacher in elementary
Since we're on the subject, all right, so now there's this guy with a really impronounceable name who's like gay, a war veteran, has some libertarian values, he's like the perfect guy.
Really?
Like, is he gonna be like that dude that went, yeah, and then just fell off the map?
What's his name? I don't even... he has an impronounceable name.
Benettonto or something, I don't know.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Oh, he's been on the radar. I subscribed to this channel called The Young Turks.
Oh yeah.
On the YouTube,
sure.
And it was recommended to me by James Schreiber, former bass player of Funch and a good friend.
Yep.
And but he leans really far left.
He's progressive, as am I.
But progressive.
We're progressive.
But I think he's got a few libertarian values.
Here's
too.
the problem, okay? There's some Democrats out there, and some of them are older, and they're very, like, middle class and in the suburbs and stuff like that. They're just really uncomfortable with progressivism. They're just really uncomfortable with actually helping people out. All they want to do is feel good about keeping their money, and that's pretty much it, okay? And
what about their
differences-
feelings?
Yeah, their feelings
I think
can't be
the
hurt.
principles of libertarianism is like, live free or die. Like, don't tell me how to make a buck, and don't tell me how to...
Libertarianism is investing as little as possible in the government, which basically means you're going to increase inequality. And how are you going to fix the roads?
I'll go fill the potholes.
I'll do it myself.
I will.
Let Domino's do it, apparently.
There was a thing, right? Wasn't there a homeless guy filling in potholes and getting money?
And weed? Yeah.
Wait, did you post that?
I might have, I don't know.
I mean, was that a COC thing? I don't know who posts what anymore.
Yeah, there was a guy in Canada that was filling the
mornings.
potholes.
You do mornings, you do nights?
I do whenever. If I see something funny, I just post it. This is our production meeting. Yes, occasionally on the weekends, very early in the morning, I guess you're sleeping, because generally I don't see anything. So but I just happen to be awake because I don't sleep. I'm psychotic.
He keeps breaking the third wall.
I have a team of doctors now that are caring for me. So I can't even pronounce the one.
Is he running for president?
Right? It says
Endocrinologist or something like that.
It's like
the type of doctor. Oh,
liver doctor.
Liver doctor.
I gotta go to the liver doctor, the bladder doctor,
I told the liver doctor.
the rheumatologist.
How's it feeling in there, sir?
You know,
How you feeling, Gramps?
I'm so stoned, so I feel really good. But by about 3 o'clock every day, I feel like I'm just crashing. Like, I hate to say this, but I feel fucking retarded. That's the best way I could describe it, because I feel like I'm just like people. My boss will say something to me, and I'll get like 75% of it, and then wait, what's the other thing? Like, I just can't. And even I'm fucking Mr. Pen and Paper. Like, I pick up the phone and I start writing shit down, and
I do that too.
Because I don't want to forget the person's name. Like, I'm kind of in sales. Like, I don't want to forget the person's name. I don't want to forget what store they're from.
Right.
So I'm like super trying to just focus and not be like my brain just feels like.
So you're having difficulty focusing.
It's because I don't sleep as much. Like
sleep's important.
I sleep probably like 3 or 4 hours a night. But I'm tossing and turning. I wake up in the middle of the night. I got like I can't go back to sleep. Then I put the TV on. I put on nothing. I put on usually wrestling podcasts. Like I listen to Eric Bischoff talk about business. And it's either intriguing to me until I fall asleep, or I'm tired and I just need a fan or something, background noise.
Right. Yeah.
But I do love that podcast. Eric Bischoff is a financial and like entertainment, I think, genius.
He was the dude that started off as like he was on the Turner Network as one of the broadcasters, right?
He was in AWA as an announcer. He got in as like just a kid that kind of wanted to get into the business.
Right.
And ended up running WCW, which ended up beating the shit out of WWF for 83 weeks. Which is why the podcast is called 83 Weeks. It's kind of like he goes back and forth with this guy, and the guy asks him. It's great because for somebody like me with like an autistic knowledge of wrestling and like watching WCW and WWF, we would watch it every week. My friend taped it. We would like watch it twice. Like it was like so fucking.
All right, so let me ask your encyclopedic brain. All right, so during those, what was it, 83 weeks?
83 weeks, yeah.
During that 83 weeks, was it like a symptom of, WWF was getting too gimmicky and the WCW had more high-flying moves? Like, the Frankensteiner was a big thing then, right?
WCW changed the business because WWE always had guys, I'll preface it with this, that were like light heavyweights. Mm-hmm. You had six...
The Intercontinental guys, right?
X-Pac or whatever the guy... Not even. But yeah, like a guy like Bret Hart wasn't the standard of professional wrestling, say, in that era, in the 80s and 90s.
Sure, they had him, he was the tag team champ for years.
But he wasn't a big dude. Like, comparatively...
Oh, you mean like size-wise?
Size-wise.
Oh, comparatively to relate more to...
Comparatively to Hulk Hogan.
I think he's talking about just pure physicality.
I'm talking about pure physicality.
Okay.
Bret Hart was like a small guy. Shawn Michaels was a small guy.
Right.
Compared to lanky, but
compared to Hulk Hogan,
yes,
yeah,
who's say 6'5",
right?
Like
I think
Bret Hart
like
is
7 because I had the card.
Supposedly now he's more like 6'5". But I think there was always two. They call it like it's kayfabe. Like Andre the Giant ain't really 7 feet tall. He's more like 6'10", but. Who the fuck is measuring
You bloat the numbers. Yeah. No, I get it.
Everybody in wrestling was always a little bit bigger, say, than they really were. But like a guy
so like Tugboat wasn't really 357 pounds?
No, Tugboat probably was 300 pounds, but like... But it's usually the heights. Some guys, they would probably fucking boost it up a couple pounds. Just, why not? Like... But like, I don't know, dudes in the 90s started coming into wrestling that were like... normal, our size guys, like 5'11", 5'10".
But the things they could do were...
The shit they could do was awesome. And they brought like a different it brought a whole different dynamic to the business that there never was before. Like the matches, like the WCW to the Luchador, which is these like masked guys from Mexico, and they bounce all over the place and they fly off the top rope, and it, in a way, to an American fan that like loves the old school way of wrestling, it makes wrestling look cheap. But to people that are flipping the channels and go, what is this?
Right.
This is fucking cool.
Right.
And it's these two guys doing all this crazy shit. That's where WCW started going right, because you know they're on TNT, TBS, like all the Turner networks. So they started showing, like, the first hour of the show would be like maybe, you know, Hulk Hogan in a segment backstage and some luchador matches and then some other shit and then some luchador matches, or some, you know, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko. Like, they're not really like luchadors, they're Canadian, American, but they have that, they're smaller guys that have that light heavyweight style. They're not wearing the masks or whatever, but it was just it's great television. It's great to watch.
It was more dynamic and more energetic, I think. And I think that this generation, like the internet generation, has a much shorter attention span. So like all that kind of shit talking and building up and all that shit. That's
that's true. The business changed. Like, they used to have 4 pay-per-views a year at WWF. And it was like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. That was like the big 4, you know? And then everything that happened in those 3 months was leading up to WrestleMania, leading up to Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, etc. And then at some point, WCW, I think, started putting on more pay-per-views. Maybe WWF started first, and they would do an occasional one, but it became like every month now there's a pay-per-view. So the whole time shift on TV changed. Whereas you're not trying to build to a 3-month blow-off anymore. Now it's every month. You have to write all this TV to progress these storylines so that the blow-off actually means something. And so you got what they call crash TV, where it's like Monday comes, they don't even know what the fuck they're gonna do. They're just like, oh yeah, this match is happening. Yeah, just send out Scott Steiner. He's just gonna beat everybody up and cut a promo. Like, we don't even know. Like, it kind of, it became so big because it became so unpredictable. But in its unpredictability, they could never figure out where the fuck half of it was actually going, which is why WCW like beat WWF, but WWF was trying to neck and neck with them.
So I think it had a little to do with the star power. I mean, like Flair in those days had that, whether you like me or you don't like me, learn to love me, because I'm the greatest thing in the world. Woo! You know, like the pageantry of Flair, and then Sting was a big star.
Rock had that too.
No, but the whole thing. Here's the thing: WCW always took the guys that WWF had made into stars. So when you're banking,
so wait, Flair was with WWF first.
Flair was the exception. He was always a South guy.
Yeah,
but he did go to WWF for like 2 years or one year.
There was that.
He won the '92 Royal Rumble.
That Royal Rumble, he was all beat up and he was left alone with Piper, and he and Piper had been feuding, and Piper just like mopped the floor with him for a few minutes, but never could get him out.
Yeah,
I remember that match because it was funny.
And that's where Flair won.
Because Flair and Piper hated each other. Well,
and Flair won the belt. That's the Royal Rumble that was like for the belt.
Yeah,
and he won it, but WWF never pulled the trigger on TV on the Flair Hogan match, which is like what everybody, when Flair goes to WWF, that's what you fucking want to see.
Yeah.
Like,
why didn't they?
They did it at house shows, but I guess they just never. I think they realized it's like somebody's gonna have to lose, and it's gonna be like that's like
you lose half your audience. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, you can cop out. You can have a draw.
Think about it. So you have those two guys. Like, the one guy was the fucking biggest guy in his company for 20 years. And the other guy was the biggest guy in his company for maybe 10, 15. But he was arguably bigger than the guy that was there for a longer time. Hulk Hogan in the 80s was like or in the early 90s was like a megastar.
For sure.
Ric Flair, I don't think I knew who Ric Flair was in 1992.
Okay.
Because I was like I didn't know there was other promotions other than WWF as a kid. It just never dawned on me.
Did you see that clip that Alexa threw on today with Flair's fighting Bret Michaels? I guess it was his retirement match.
Bret Hart?
Yeah, or was it Bret Hart? I
Shawn Michaels.
It was Shawn Michaels, not Bret Michaels. Jesus Christ. Apple drive them. Anyway.
I'd like to see that fight.
Yeah, Bret. Oh my god. But, so that was like a thing? Like Flair fucking bled?
Okay, so Flair always bled. Yeah. That was like his thing after like when he became a megastar was like, well, if I just bleed in every match, like people really like me.
Yeah, they'll think I'm trying really hard.
I don't know. WWF never pulled the trigger on the Hogan Flair thing. Just to close that up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then Hogan ended up going to WCW a couple years later.
And became Hollywood, right?
No, not off the bat. Dude, the first fucking thing WCW did was just make him beat Flair for the belt. So it's like if a giant just walks over to a mountain and kicks it over, then what is there for Hogan to do?
Right, yeah.
So they like brought in like Earthquake, they brought in Brutus the Barber Beefcake,
nice.
They brought in Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who ended up becoming the NWO with Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Wait, so Beefcake went to WCW?
Yeah, and he had like 5 different gimmicks where he was the Booty Man, and then he was Zodiac, where he painted his face like white with like these like weird like stitching all over him. He had all these weird characters.
I
like that.
The Disciple.
He was my favorite.
Really?
I even liked when he was the dumb bad guy, or he was a tag team with somebody else.
You liked Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
I do.
You heard it here first. Brutus, you have one fan.
He liked
I like
right
Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I just like his matches with Randy Savage were good.
Everybody's Randy Savage could have wrestled a broom in a.
He had a great feud with the Honky Tonk Man. And I enjoyed
the best thing that ever happened to Bruce the Barber Beefcake
was that boating accident.
No. Actually, 2 things. A, when Shawn Michaels kicked Marty Jannetty in the face and threw him through his fucking barbershop window.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's when he was with like Scary Sherry, and he became
the Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I love when he beat it. Yeah, it was the barbershop.
Yeah,
I miss those gimmicky.
That was always my favorite thing.
Shows.
Like Piper's Pit. It's just like now the room has a kilt on it. Like the whole ring is like fucking this kilt pattern.
right.
And Roddy Piper is there, and then
they gave him a little set eventually.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, later in WWF, that's what they would do. Early on, they would do the whole.
In the ring,
it was like early on they would do the whole set in the back. In the like modern times, they would have like the ring would just be all fucking kilted out, and it's like, oh, it's Piper's Pit. Like they would come back from a commercial, and you'd come out. Like I always loved that shit because that's.
You said so. You were not a fan of Brutus Beefcake and the sleeper hold and
Brutus the Barber Beefcake to me was always he was like the luckiest friend of Hulk Hogan in the entire world. Like, if he wasn't friends with Hulk Hogan, he would probably be working at a gas station.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know. I don't have any like.
I don't know what it was about him. Why
I don't like him either? It's like I think he's a piece of shit because of the cons, the conventions. Yeah. He'll like show up with shit that's supposedly signed by Hogan, but it's not. I don't know who it's signed by.
How do you know? Because
it's gotten out online. I've seen it before. Or he's
a forger.
I forget what the fuck he did. He took something.
Should be pissed about that.
A fraud. He was annoyed. Yeah. And the same thing with Virgil too. You remember Virgil?
He's got DiBiase stuff signed. And
I fucking love. There's a site, Lonely Virgil, where it's just him at conventions, and like sometimes he's not even invited. He just shows up and like sets up a table and like.
And he has these like these old school action figures of him and like special edition of him and Ted DiBiase. He's got about 12 of them on the table. And he's got some 8x10s with him and Ted DiBiase. It's like
So sad.
I don't know. He never even actually wrestled. He just kind of stood there.
Is that my stapler? He's like that guy that just ignore him until he goes.
He was pretty much like, like a set piece. Even in WCW, like, it was funny.
He was like Ted DiBiase's Jerome, like in like Purple Rain for Marvin Gaye. No, Marvin Gaye. Marvin Day. Anyway,
Morris Day.
Morris Day. Thank you. Sorry. And the motherfucking died. Wow. That
Morris Day and Jerome.
Yeah.
That's the mad note.
Yeah, but you see my point though. Virgil was just sort of a side.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole business changed though. Like they started doing all these pay-per-views every year, and that's why in the 83 weeks WCW they had the money to beat WWF. But what WWF was doing was building Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Rock, and once those guys became the guys, like that's like the triad, I guess, of that WWF at that time. And they brought in fucking Kurt Angle, was like an Olympic gold medalist.
I made a reference to him in my announcement today.
Yeah. They brought in.
He actually can wrestle,
dude. That guy, fucking. They brought in Brock Lesnar years later, who's like the same. He was like the NCAA champion.
Yeah.
And then went to like UFC. But like they did a Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, and Brock Lesnar used to be notorious for doing a move where he would stand on the top rope, do a backflip, and come down with his stomach on the guy. It's called a shooting star press, and most guys over.
Did they bounce off the rope after the?
No, he would go to the top,
right?
The top rope, jump off with a backflip.
Oh.
And land on his stomach on the guy on the ground.
Oh, so it's belly to belly.
Yeah, but he would be doing a full backflip in the air before he lands. But he hadn't done it in fucking 10 years. Like, he did it a lot before he was on TV, and they never let him do it on TV because they thought about it. They're like, you being this size, you're this massive guy, doing this high flying shit is like, it like cheapens the business because people are going to expect that all the time, and you don't want to be taking kind of those risks and doing that shit, and it kind of makes the business look like shit when a guy like that could just fucking fly off the top and do a backflip, you know, like,
I don't know.
Well,
why
here's
not?
The thing.
Like, should they be appeal to every man?
No, that should be the move that you try at the last resort.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're a guy that big and you know you can do it, and the crowd knows you can do it because they've seen it. It's gotten around online, you know.
So it becomes like that Grateful Dead song that they only play every once in a while.
Yeah, it becomes like that thing that you're like waiting for it to happen, right?
Or like,
you know, when these two guys wrestle, it's gonna come down to wrestling, and it's gonna come down to he can't, you know, get him pinned with his finishing move, and he's gonna try something fucking crazy.
Right.
So he goes to the top rope and goes to do it, and he fucking almost pulls it off, but he didn't get enough air or something, or he just came down like about a foot short of Kurt Angle and like landed fucking right on his head, and like could have been very badly injured. Like, it's the perfect example of like a crazy risk versus reward. If he pulled that off, it would be like it would have been in every fucking video package for a million years. Like, here's a 300-pound guy doing a backflip on another guy, you know.
Right.
But it fucking got like he botched it.
He didn't hurt Kurt Angle, did he?
No,
because Kurt Angle had a bad injury, right?
Kurt Angle wrestled with a broken freaking neck.
Yeah.
Wow.
He didn't know. It was like a small. Yeah, funny thing. All right,
he won the Olympics, dude.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of like in the mid 2000s. Like, there was a lot of like crazy toy flipping. If there was an action figure that was won a case, you could flip it for like 10 times what it was worth. Anyway, so Toys R Us was doing clearance, and I saw this like Kurt Angle figure, and he had his Olympic medals, and he was all buff, and he was like 7 inches, but I got it for like $2.99. I sold it for $25. So God bless you, Kurt Angle. That bought my Chinese food that week.
That dude's retiring at WrestleMania.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
It's his last match.
So, all right. So, what's the hype with the all-girl headliner? Do you think?
Oh,
it's
I don't
too
know.
gimmicky, or-
Everybody's gonna leave to avoid the traffic, and they're all gonna be stuck in traffic because nobody cares.
You think it's a bad move?
I don't know. Every wrestling fan I know that's not a woman is utterly indifferent to it.
Right.
Okay.
And I feel shitty about saying that, but honestly, I don't know. It's always been. It's like if a bunch of chicks decided to play the last game of the fucking World Series, you know, like, to me, like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this softball team play. Well, who gives a fuck? That's kind of the way I feel like wrestling fans feel about it. I'm excited because it's Ronda Rousey. Like, I like seeing her do anything, but if she wasn't,
I don't know anything about the
Dude,
card,
Ronda
so-
Rousey was in UFC.
Okay.
She's like the real deal. She kind of like blurs the lines of like what's acceptable because she's fucking Ronda Rousey. She can tweet shit that the WWF people kind of normally wouldn't really tweet, like profanity and calling people shit. Like, they try to keep it not G-rated, but they're not calling each other like a motherfucker and shit.
But that's like a chick that can kick our ass.
Oh, she could.
Dude, she could snap your arm. Yeah,
she's a fucking bruiser.
Was she the one that made the cameo in that stupid Entourage movie? That was
Maybe.
that was beating up one of the guys. I don't know, Turtle or whatever. I don't know.
She beat up Turtle.
I think she beat up Turtle. I don't know. There were cool things about that show, but there were bad things. But I don't want to talk about that. I have a question. I've been doing a lot of research today. All right. So, what is the deal with Roman Reigns? Like
Roman Reigns?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I should have got bifocals, but I didn't. Yeah, Roman Reigns. Like, so I watched
Roman with an M, not a W.
Oh, I totally wrote a W.
You want a
Look.
pen?
Okay, Roman Reigns.
Somehow I know exactly. Roman, like the Roman Empire.
Oh, Roman. Oh, I was thinking like Ronan, like
You know what's
the
funny
warrior
about
that's
Roman
Hawkeye?
Reigns, and it's not funny that he got cancer. I feel really bad about that.
Oh, he got cancer?
No, he's had cancer for a long time, and like it came back recently.
Is that his gimmick?
No. I remember when the first.
That would be a shitty gimmick.
They when he was a nobody, it was like one of those things, like, oh, he's in training camp, he's got this or whatever, and it's.
So wait, people pay attention to the minor leagues?
Dude, I read the wrestling news every fucking day. I haven't watched wrestling in a year. Okay?
You know what's going on.
But I know what's going on, in case I talk to another nerd. No, but I saw a headline, and it's like, Universal title vacated, no, Roman Reigns vacates Universal title to leukemia, and I thought, like, that's the weirdest name for a wrestler ever. And I clicked, I'm like, is this like clickbait? And I clicked on it, I'm like, oh fuck, no, he's actually like sick.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
But he like beat it or like went into remission.
Why do people not like him? I mean, he looks like a character from a late '80s Punisher.
People
comic
don't
book.
like him because he's like The Rock's cousin. It's like
Legitimately, he's The Rock's cousin?
yeah. But a lot of guys in wrestling, Yokozuna was The Rock's cousin. Rikishi, Fatu, like the Wild Samoans, those guys are all
They're all related,
Samoan
yeah.
wrestling.
They all
family.
probably grew up together, and
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so like,
yeah. But I like that
but
about.
they don't like
wrestling.
Roman Reigns because he's just like shoved down their throat as a hero.
Right. So yeah. So I watched. Did you guys watch the John Oliver piece?
Yeah.
Okay. So I found it fascinating, and he really did pay a lot of respect to the WWF. As it is what it is. It's wonderful entertainment. It's ridiculous and everything.
Right.
But the crowd just like screaming, "We hate you! We hate you!" And the poor guy can't talk. Like they're gonna have to pull the cord on this guy sooner or later, right?
No, they're not, because he's not a bad
Or turn him into a
wrestler.
villain.
You know what it is that they just need to.
Yeah, turn into the Skid. Make him a villain.
Well, there's that. They can make him bad, but I don't think they will. I think the whole thing. It's like once they have a guy that they like,
Right.
regardless of if the crowd gives a fuck, and they Vince McMahon kind of thinks like, this guy's money. You know, he's 6'8", he's fucking jacked to the gills.
Right, he looks like a tough guy.
looks like a
so
fucking
he'll play for the
monster.
biker crowd, you know.
Yeah, and they try to push him in as like with like these other two guys that are like legit fucking indie wrestlers, Seth Rollins and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they were they had a group together, the three of them, and Dean Ambrose, and like these other two guys were like, they were out on the independent scene while Roman Reigns was like on I think he played football in college, you know, like they were like busting their asses like the guys that got over to people in like Rahway, New Jersey in like a fucking high school gym. And so I think that's why there's such a reaction to Roman Reigns, because it's like he got into wrestling, I think, as like the second thing he could do, because he did play football. I don't know if he played professionally, but I know he played in college.
So it's a problem with like nepotism?
Kinda, yeah. But everybody was okay with it when it was The Rock. It's weird how they're okay.
But The
with
Rock earned everything he got. I mean,
yeah, but his dad was a wrestler. Like his dad was Rocky Johnson. You know, he's in the Samoan family, so it's like he's gonna get looked at before you or me or you get looked at by the WWF, because he's
isn't there a Metallica song? It's not who you watch, who you know. You talk about personal responsibility. There is the problem with democracy or the problem with capitalism is there is a huge degree of luck in this world.
There's also a huge degree of nepotism, man.
Dude, I'll tell you.
Is nepotism luck? I mean, I don't know.
I've been exceptionally lucky. I fell into a career that I happen to be good at because I worked in a warehouse. Every job I've ever had is because of who I knew. Somebody that this guy can fucking do this, and that's how I got the job.
Right.
I don't know what that says. That's a lot of people I know.
I mean, it could be a good thing.
Well, not every job. There's jobs where I've gotten them on the interview, for sure. But, like, I would say 75% of my jobs are based on somebody I knew, like, passed, word along or whatever. Or I did something freelance for a company, and they were like, wow, we really like this guy, and they brought me on.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. To me, nepotism is you hold that position only because of who you know. You don't have the skills to apply to make the position shine. I think The Rock, he had character. He was a good-looking guy. He's huge. He knows how to move in the ring and stuff like that. And he's a halfway decent actor. And he knew how to build up his character. He had the talent to fill that. So whether he knew the people or not, he was going to get there, I think.
But I think he's better than a halfway decent actor. I think he is he's a legit actor, I think. Like, did you ever see Walk Tall? Oh my god.
Walking Tall, yeah, he was fucking awesome.
He was in that, that's true.
Is that Christopher Walken was in that too, right?
Was he the bad guy?
Wasn't he the bad guy with the whip? Was that him? No.
It was like hillbilly bad guys, right? Because it was in like a town.
Oh, I'm thinking of The Runaway. That's a movie with The Rock, where he has
I didn't mean to like yell at you like, oh, he's better on.
No, maybe I should give The Rock another second.
There's a movie with The Rock. I think it's called The Runaway, where him and Sean William Scott, Stifler from American Pie. Christopher Walken is like a bad guy, and it's like
right, and they fight that tiny Polynesian man.
I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theaters, but I left the theaters so fucking like just on board. Like, I'll watch anything The Rock ever fucking does. Like, this was great. It helps that I watched it in Clifton, where a lot of black people were yelling at the screen. But
depends on what theater you go.
Clifton Commons, man.
I don't go to Clifton Commons. I go to the dive on
Allwood.
Yeah.
Oh, I love going to Allwood. The hottest black girls ever work there.
Yeah. And they made it a lot more comfortable now too. They've got
it got more Indian in recent years.
No, I saw Halloween there. And it was great. We went in, and there was like a seat in front of us that it looked like somebody just kicked the shit out of it. So it's like, oh, this is great. Nobody will sit in front of us. And we just sat there, and it was like fucking
they upgrade the seats like every 6 months.
The seats still have a fucking ashtray in them in that theater.
Well, no, but they had the recliners, and for like one movie they reclined, and then the next time I went, they were kind of broken. So I'm like sitting in a chair like this. You have to get into it like this, It's but it's like if you go before 4 o'clock, the movie's $5. You go on Tuesday, it's $5, and I think Sunday afternoons till like 5 is $5. So I usually go on the off time, so you probably go.
I got fucking ID'd there to see Halloween. I think it was either Resurrection or H2O.
Oh my god. I have the craziest story about getting ID'd. Alright, so my 21st birthday, woke up, bought a carton of cigarettes. Went to work.
What did that cost? $20 back in the day?
$17.99, I think. So I bought a carton of cigarettes. Didn't get ID'd. Went to the mall bar with my girlfriend, Canadian Jody, and we tore some back, and then my sister's asshole second husband was there, but he bought me a beer because it was my 21st birthday. So I stumbled into the AMC. There used to be an AMC on the outskirts before the new one up in Rockaway. It was in a different place. But anyway, so it's Showgirls. And the guy's like, I need to see some ID. I'm like, I got liquor and cigarettes on my breath. I didn't get carded for any of that. But I don't know. I have a baby face. I don't know. I could probably pass for 35.
Dude, my friend, we went to fucking see. I don't even remember what it was.
The fucking Showgirls?
When I was a kid going to see the Halloween movie, I think it was. I don't know if it was Resurrection or H2O. I can't remember. I was in high school. Probably H2O.
Was Resurrection the dumb
that was a
reality show one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we went there and we're like, we're 17. I drove there. Yeah. You had to be, I think, 18 to get in, right? Is there right? No, you know what it was my girlfriend was probably a year younger than me. So they're like, oh, you can't come in with all these people. I'm like, it's a horror movie. Like, what? No, we can't leave in. So I go next door to the I see an Italian guy in the barbershop. I'm like, yo, can you just pretend to be our dad? Like, I'll buy you a ticket to this movie. Like, you don't have to fucking stay. He's like, oh, they're not letting you in? He's like, hold on. So he comes over. He's like, come on, just let these kids in the movie. He's like, they're trying to get me to pretend to be their dad. It's just a horror movie, you know? Like, the girl's like, okay.
Yeah, I guess it's worse because Halloween's just horror. Like, Showgirls had some pretty graphic stuff. But
so we get in, all's well. But a couple months later, my friend, he's fucking older than me. He's like 26. With a fucking full terrorist beard. He looks like one of the guys that crashed the plane into the towers. He's a dark-skinned Italian guy. He looks like a fucking terrorist. we go to the movies. I don't even remember what the fuck. It's probably The Hills Have Eyes, some shit. You know, whatever.
Right.
They're like, oh, we need to see ID for him. I'm like, him? I'm like, I'm the fucking one that's like, you know, young. Like,
fucking funny.
So we drive all the way home to get ID. We come back. We get to a different window. The guy just fucking sells him the ticket. He didn't ask him for the fucking ID. So we wasted an entire trip because my friend didn't bring his ID to go home because one bitch in one window wouldn't let us in. We could have just gone to another window and they would have just let us in.
Ugh.
Wow.
It's like he looked like he was 30 years old, my friend.
What the fuck, man? You just got bad luck. I was getting into bars when I was like 18, 19. Nobody ever wanted me.
I never even thought about it. Like, maybe I'll go to a bar.
I used to go to the Old Canal Inn, which actually got eventually closed down because of selling underage kids. But two guys opened it up and
gee, how could that have possibly have happened, Phil?
Right. And then the Dirty Bird, Essex Manor.
The Dirty Bird.
That was a great place, except for a lot of crazy ass.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird.
That was when we were kids. We used to buy cigarettes at this one corner store up the street.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, it's like, hey man, can I get a pack of Parliaments? And it's like, we're like 13. He's just like, don't tell nobody where you got this. Just give him the money.
Nice.
Fucking like, go outside the store, like light up. It's like they're probably being watched. Like we don't even think about it. It's like two little kids with like a lighter and cigarettes.
So we could always get like somebody's older brother to buy that shit for us.
No, we would just go buy it ourselves until the store got shut down.
Yeah, with the cigarette thing, like, so I worked at ShopRite in Newton, and like before the ShopRite in Newton, there was this little deli called Joe's Deli, and they had a couple seats. So after work we closed, we'd all hang out there. I'd buy cigarettes. So one day, you know, the guy's like goes to card me, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not really 18. He's like, oh, fucking care, man. You guys spend a lot of money here.
Nice.
And he just wanted to bust my balls. You know.
What are the WrestleMania notes do you have? I'm curious.
WrestleMania notes?
Yeah. Do you have anything? You wanted to malign Vince McMahon.
Oh, all right.
Great Vince McMahon.
There's definitely a pattern of short life expectancy in wrestlers. There was a very compelling Roddy Piper interview where Roddy Piper said, I'm not going to live until 65. He's died at 61. What?
You don't think that's in music? You don't think that's in entertainment in general?
I just think, again, to some extent, I'm an old lefty. I think government should do what people can't do for themselves. And I think if a corporation is going to make its money on the backs of these people, I think they should take a degree of responsibility.
Yeah.
Plus the fact, I mean, it's not like the NFL. At least the NFL, they have an off season. These guys work 200 days a year.
That's true.
It's pretty trying on your body, man.
It's trying on your body. You know, and guys like Roddy Piper made McMahon a lot of fucking money because he made Hogan look good. I mean, he was the cartoon. He was literally the cartoon villain.
Yeah.
And if you remember Rock and Roll Wrestling, I mean, like.
You ever seen McMahon's house, man?
I'm sure it's
fucking mansion.
extravagant.
You can look it up online.
Is it a Mick mansion?
It is not really.
The thing that freaked me out.
Go for it.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
Was like, you know, so Vince McMahon in the early days would just have a microphone and interview people. You know, he was just sort of the sport, you know, and he was always the innocent and the doofus, and like the wrestlers would take advantage of him. But then you flash forward, and he's like, you know, making girls strip and dropping N-bombs. And
But here's the thing.
I think it got I think there was a certain tackiness to wrestling, but I think it got crass.
It did.
I mean, they literally shove his face in some guy's ass. You can't fake that.
Well, no, you can't. But that goes to my argument, is that Vince McMahon would never ask you to do anything that he would not do himself.
Okay. They just said that?
Guy's got pretty wide boundaries.
Dude, that guy has gotten the shit beat out of him.
True.
Like, in the ring. Like, could you imagine, like, I get to wrestle my boss?
So you think that they were a little extra hard on him?
I think that they were as hard on him as
anybody else.
And
he probably asked for that.
And yeah, because he wants it to be the best show that it can be. And yeah, he's a fucking nut. But he also sends like any guy that used to work for him or woman, whoever, he sends them to rehab
That's true.
As many times as it takes, really.
But it can't be that hard to set up some sort of avenue of income. Just like, I don't know, special edition cards signed by the old wrestlers. And then take that money and give it to some kind of retirement fund for this
He
stuff.
signs a lot of the old guys to what they call a Legends contract.
Yeah, they mentioned that in the text. I knew you had that.
Yeah, where they basically do like WrestleMania weekend. All those guys just show up. They just hang out. They just get paid bullshit. Yeah. You know, like it's not. They're not wrestling. Coco Beware's not wrestling anymore. Jim Duggan's not wrestling anymore. Right. But at least they're getting.
But Jake Roberts should not be depending on fans to pay for his life and.
Well, the other thing, a lot of those guys didn't save their money, man. They didn't manage it wisely.
Jake Roberts obviously had some drug problems.
Yeah,
I think there was a documentary where he was smoking crack, right?
Yeah.
In the Mick Foley documentary.
That's right. Yeah.
Beyond
the Mick Foley.
Dude, Mick Foley started doing DDP yoga. Like, that's the thing. Jake the Snake, should the fans have been paying for his surgery? Probably not. But that whole thing...
But he made McMahon a lot of money.
He did make McMahon a lot of money, but he made Ted Turner a lot of money, too. He was in WCW. He was in a lot of places. But he also fucking... He was... You know, like, he's a drug addict. Like, you can't... Should Vince McMahon have to worry that everybody that leaves his company is going to become hooked on crack? No, that's preposterous.
It's just that if you have respect for the sport. All right. So in baseball, there was a guy named Jimmy Fox, Foxx, and he was one of the all-time hit leaders or something. And he fell in hard times, became an alcoholic, sold his World Series ring. Cooperstown found out about it, bought it back, gave it to him, and got him into rehab. Like that that's what I think any organization should respect those who helped build the organization, and I think Jake Roberts.
I think
deserves
Vince
that.
McMahon would probably do the same thing.
And who knows? Maybe Vince reached out to Jake but couldn't save Jake. Maybe Jake was too far
I don't
gone.
think
Maybe-
Vince. I don't think Jake the Snake reached out to Vince.
Yeah.
He was very proud. I think he covered it up for a long time.
And it finally got to a point where, like,
people in the locker room talk.
Diamond Dallas Page is an old dude. He got into wrestling in his 30s.
He was from a WCW.
He was from WCW.
Yeah. Okay.
Got into wrestling way late for guys that get into wrestling. But he was 6'8". He had a good build. Fucking real, good talking on the mic and everything. So like he became the guy. And even in WCW, like he was in their movie. WCW made a movie called Ready to Rumble with what's his name? David Arquette as like the lead character. And
I kind of vaguely remember that.
David Arquette fucking won the WCW World Title in real life. He was in WCW, and now he got back into wrestling, and he's wrestling in death matches where like they hit him with like light bulbs and shit. David fucking Arquette is wrestling, but DDP, he got Jake the Snake Roberts sober,
right?
And he realized he's like, we gotta do something for this guy, and he just put that out there, like kind of, who knows what's gonna happen. Jake the Snake didn't realize, and Scott Hall too, Razor Ramon, was in the same boat. He needed a hip or a knee or something, yeah. And DDP brought him into the house, got him sober, got him doing yoga, got him back in shape, and they did crowdfund for the shit. But for those guys to know that like people actually give a fuck after they think their career's just over, like. They're living a normal dude life where it's like they buy drugs from their guy, do whatever the fuck they do during the day, hang out. You know what I mean? Like they're living.
I get that there is
a psychological thing to them, and they think, wow, my career's over. Nobody gives a fuck. I'm a has-been. And then they put something like that out there, like, yeah, I'm trying to help myself. I'm, like they're basically too proud to fucking call Vince and go, hey. I took a lot of backdrops. I need a fucking hip replacement.
I think with Jake the Snake, he had a really bad addiction problem, but he also pushed away his daughters and his family, and he felt very guilty about that. So I think he felt like a has-been, and he also felt guilt about his family. So he he isolated himself.
It's not a bigger picture thing. I think with a lot of those guys. I think a lot of those guys are they're so. That's the business, dude. Like,
I just think they should call them employees and they should give them medical.
It's never been the business.
But who cares? Like, it wasn't the business. They called it sports, but then when they had to pay the tax, they changed it to sports entertainment.
So
they changed the business for that.
Because the jig was up. Like, that's all it was.
But I think if that John Oliver thing gets some steam, I think there might be some government intervention to provide these people. Somebody like Jesse Ventura sees that, he's going to start chirping again.
I think it's different now.
And he's got political power.
Not anymore.
No, not really.
He lives in a fucking bunker in Mexico off the grid. He's a fucking weirdo now.
I love that guy.
I live in a bunker in Mexico off the grid.
Dehydrated beans are the best way to get protein in the bunker.
They canceled my television show because I was too much of a provocateur.
What was he on?
My hair like
CNN?
No, he had like some show where he was like investigating like paranormal, like UFO shit.
Well,
really?
Oh no, I saw a clip where he was like interviewing Henry Rollins. It was fucking great. And it was like, I agree with Henry Rollins on this matter, and because Rollins is pretty, straightforward guy. They're both straight shooters.
The same thing, yeah. Where
they're just like,
and that's the funny thing.
And almost like buzzkill at a party too.
Punk rock and wrestling is like every punk rock person I know, like Bobby Steele, fucking Glenn Danzig, Jerry Only, like all those dudes, Mr. Jim, they all fucking love wrestling.
If you ever see Mike Random and Ted Flatus sitting in the corner of the Clash Bar talking, 9 out of 10 times, it's about wrestling.
Yeah.
And, it's a legit thing. So speaking of music and wrestling, do you remember that great 80s piece of fantastic work, Body Slam, with Roddy Piper and one of the Samoans, I think? Tom to Tom, I think was the other guy. And then the dude from the A-Team was like their manager, but then they had the band Kick.
Yeah.
I love that fucking movie. I don't know. It was great. But I think that was the first. I think that predates Andre and Princess Bride.
It might.
Oh, nice.
I think about it.
But it might not predate Andre in. Wasn't he in one of the Conan movies?
Possibly. I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah. Why wouldn't you use that guy? Like,
I feel like he was in something that we don't remember, but he was definitely. It's like before anybody cared that he's.
Before we check out, there's one character from wrestling that I do want to bring up, and I want to know what you know about him. But in the early days, I loved Gorilla Monsoon. He was like the coolest. He was the Howard Cosell, or the
See, okay, that's
wrestling.
funny that you say that, because to me, Gorilla Monsoon was always an announcer, right? He was like a skinny little guy, like I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
He was always.
I never saw him. No, I always knew him as like an old, kind of an old guy.
Me too. He was old when I was.
I think maybe at his max he was 180 pounds. I would say. I never saw Gorilla Monsoon as a guy that was like a wrestler until I was told, like, no, Gorilla Monsoon was like the fucking man.
Like, he fought Bob Backlund.
He was like 300 fucking pounds, like this monster guy.
Yeah.
I always thought that, like, I don't know, he fucking lived it, you know, like.
But he was like the wrestler's wrestler, from what I understand. Yeah, and then they made him commissioner for a little while there.
Commissioner Gorilla Monsoon.
Right. They did make him commissioner.
Yeah.
Was that by?
That was the mid
by Stone Cold,
I think. I think that was like 92, 94.
Did they like bring him out and beat him up, or
no? He would just like make matches or like.
That's kind of a cool thing.
But it was better when they did it with Shawn Michaels in like 2000 or 1998. Like Shawn Michaels retired after he fought Stone Cold. Like he had back problems and all this shit. And
I love that kick he did to Flair. That was great.
He retired. He was done, and then he would come back every once in a while and kind of be like. Just like a talking head, you know, like a commissioner or whatever. And it was fucking great. And I never thought that I would see him wrestle again. Like, I kind of just figured, like, his time's passed, like, he's done. Dude, he fucking came back. His return career in, like, the 2000s to, like, whenever he wrestled Ric Flair, I think that's when he retired. Or maybe he retired Ric Flair and then Undertaker retired him the next year.
Oh, wow.
It was, like, fucking... It was like a new guy.
Like, I mean, is this another situation he ran out of money, so he had to go back in, like Piper?
I think that he still wanted to do it. I think that he was an asshole back when he was in, and that his back injury probably wasn't as bad as he really let on, but he, at the time, didn't want to be... That too, but at the time, I don't think he just wanted to be bothered with it anymore. I think he was like kind of sickened by it and done. You know when you walk away from something in your mid-20s and go back to it like 7 years later or something like that? Like that's kind of I think what it was. Yeah. And he went back and he was fucking awesome. And he did that Ric Flair retirement match. And then Ric Flair, the fucker, didn't retire. He just went to TNA, which was like this other company. And wrestled Mick Foley there, and like wrestled like all these people, like did all this shit that like a 60-year-old Ric Flair shouldn't have been doing. Like, and then he finally did retire.
Wow. Okay. So then we were talking about bleeding before, so I was looking up old Piper bits because I was looking for the Jimmy Snuka thing. Where, if anybody's not familiar,
Superfly.
Jimmy Snuka was this high-flying guy, and
Jimmy Superfly
murdered his wife.
Yeah, allegedly. And
I caught him at a bar in Clifton one night, but he was old and all raggedy.
Wait a minute, did we already talk about this on the show?
I think he's dead now.
Yeah. But anyway, he hits
Sula. Hear that?
There's this old clip of Piper, and he just takes a beer and just smashes his
he
head.
smashes a coconut on him.
Well, no. Before the coconut thing, I thought that was outrageous, but when I was looking up, I looked up this compilation. I was expecting to see the coconut, but there was this really old clip of Piper taking a beer. It had to be like late 70s from the bottle shape of the beer, and he just smashed it on his freaking head, and he's bleeding, and then he just started doing his rap, his like crazy eye Roddy Piper, like
holy shit.
I love his old Roddy Piper just yelling. It's always just not. It sounds like gibberish.
He's got an evil laugh.
The other point I wanted to make, all right, you guys remember like Marvel Comics in the late 80s. The anti-hero became
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The Rise.
Was
but
the anti-hero.
But no, I think there was an anti-hero before that, because I think a lot of the villains wanted to become heroes. Piper, Jake the Snake.
No, the whole thing with those guys though is like.
But Piper became, he was beating up Dr. Love and beating up Jimmy Hart and beating up Bobby Heenan.
But
and
the thing is,
the Equalizer.
Yeah, but the whole thing with wrestling is when you're a good guy and you're in an airport, right? You have to fucking be nice. Like when people want to take a picture with you, oh yeah, let's take a picture. You know, you have to be that guy outside the ring. Like that's your job, is to maintain that character.
Right.
When you're a bad guy, yeah, if you feel like taking a picture, sure, you know, take the picture. If not, get the fuck out of here, kid. You know, like you could just be a cunt to them.
Right.
So like that's why those dudes transcend, I think, kind of our perception of a good guy and a bad guy, because yeah, they're over. That's all it is fuck everything else. You have to get your shit over and get your character over.
So you think the more right.
So they elicit an emotional reaction. After
but he
a while,
became such a legend.
After a while, people, even a villain, people love him because they're there, they're good at their job. They're, you know, like, yeah, they're like people realize they're playing a villain on TV, and as much as, oh, I hate that guy, if that guy gets cancer, you know, like, your tune's gonna change. It's not gonna be, fuck Roddy Piper, you know, he got cancer, like, good, I hope he dies. Like, it's different. It's like a respect, but it's like, that's, you know, I like when people can actually feel like incensed by shit the wrestlers say to them. Like, I loved watching wrestling in my town. They used to have IWF. This is like some guy ran his own wrestling promotion in my town.
Awesome.
And they would have like dudes from like ECW, which was like late 90s, early 2000s. Because it's in Philly. They would just come over.
Sure.
They would work the show, you know? And the one dude...
A lot of wrestlers came out of Philly, I think, right?
A ton of them.
Yeah.
The one dude, Steve Carino, took like he must have gone and they just either borrowed or bought props from the school. He had like the shirt for like the football team and like the whatchamacallit, the towel, like our beach towel, and he was like wearing it around his waist and like fucking talking shit about it, and he took it off and like wiped his ass with it and like threw it on the floor and was just like talking shit about like the Nutley Raiders and like all the people in the room. They know this is a fucking fake wrestling show. They are getting so fucking mad because he's hitting the nerve that all these fucking people care about. It's like their hometown pride, and he's shitting all over it. Like, Belleville's gonna fucking beat you in the football game, you suck. It was fucking... Watching it as a kid, I'm like, I know this is fake. Like, I don't care about any of this. This is fucking awesome. This is what makes like a great show. Like every person in this room wants to see this guy lose. And at the end of the night when he does, everyone's gonna go home feeling so fucking happy.
Yep.
And that's really the core, I think, of wrestling. Is like,
and it doesn't matter that it's fake and it's scripted. It's still a hell of a show.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
fun.
You know, I miss the old days. I don't know. Maybe I'll peek in on some matches here and there, but it just seems like a huge commitment. And I already, you know, I got a lot of shows.
I just watch the highlights at this point. Like, if something happens that I want to see, I just see it. Like WrestleMania, I'll get WrestleMania because my woman is a big Ronda Rousey fan, so that'll probably be what I'm doing this weekend, is watching WrestleMania.
So you're gonna get the pay-per-view?
No, I'm not gonna get the pay-per-view. I'll just subscribe to the WWE Network for a month for $10.
And then you automatically get it.
And I get it, and I can watch it, and I'll watch some like documentaries and shit. Like I catch up. I get it like once or twice a year.
Well, does the cable company know that? Because if that'll probably decrease sales of the.
No, it doesn't, because people, I guess, still buy it in bars. You know, like bars can't get the WWE. They have to get it from the cable company. So like, there's still a market for it, but WWE's not too big with the cable networks anymore because of that. Because of like,
there's cable's not the only game in town anymore.
They just launched their own fucking game, dude. They don't care. Like, Vince McMahon owns a movie studio. Vince McMahon owns a record label. Vince McMahon owns a fucking broadcast TV. Not broadcast TV, but you subscribe to it. You can watch all the shit a la carte. There's a live stream if you want to watch certain shit. You know, they have programming. It's a channel that perpetually plays with, like, stuff. You know, if you want to watch this at 5 o'clock, it's on. But like,
I mean, on the network, on the streaming, can you get like old school matches? Like
that's mostly what it is, because their TV rights are still tied to, I think, USA and Fox. So
I'm wondering if wrestling matches hold the test of time.
Some of them.
There was a really great match between Paul Orndorff and Tito Santana, and I had never seen so many 1-2s in a match. Oh, I'll get that later. But like, there were just so many, kickouts, and there was a lot of like, those two would like roll around like in a ball doing all that kind of.
Dude, Tito Santana was fucking.
Canadian Jody worked at a hair salon that was owned by Tito Santana.
He's like from around here.
Yeah, it was up in past Jefferson, Mount Olive.
Gary Michael Capita. I'm Gary Michael Capita. He was like one of the fucking. Like the backstage guys. He was like my friend's teacher at.
That's funny.
At one of the Catholic schools down south.
So when he opened his salon, and I couldn't go because I was working or whatever, but I had an autographed picture of Doink and Dink that I sold on eBay for $7.95. And then I could never sell the picture of Tito Santana signed. Nobody wanted it. And it was, and my wife would make fun of me. She's like, why do you have this half-nude man picture sitting on the, because I would like display the stuff I'm selling. And
Tito Santana, bitch!
So then, and then I met one of the Nasty Boys.
Brian Knobs or Jerry Sags?
The non-blonde one?
Jerry Sags?
I think so. The other one was like Hogan's like.
Yeah.
He's
how he talks.
Sidekick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me and Hulk. We were good friends.
But those guys do not. They're there to like say, look, fat guys can do this too, But like that was always a thing with the WWF. Do you remember the introduction of Tugboat? Like they pulled him out of the audience.
Yeah.
And I think they did the same thing with Earthquake. And then those two guys turned on Hogan and became like a tag team.
Yeah. It's
like, but I love that bit. There's like a Ringling Brothers likeness to it. There's like a, or the French Circus does that stuff.
They did a good thing with that
in
the in like the 2000s. There was a chick, Mickey James, that came in, and she was like an obsessed Trish Stratus fan. And basically, like, that was her character. It was like that she was in the audience. She would come in the ring and like do something, and
try to kiss him or try to steal a lock of his hair. Like,
no,
what level of crazy?
She would come in and try to like help her win the match, or just be try to be like her lackey kind of.
Yeah.
And then like became like crazy and like tried to fight her. Like, it's the best way to bring somebody in. It's like a great.
So the single white female.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
And I always like too, like when just a guy that's like an established guy comes out and calls out, like, I want to fight anybody in the back, and they bring out a guy that's like, this is the time when we, like John Cena, who's like the guy now. He's in movies. He's in all kinds of shit.
Is he a decent actor? Or I've never seen any of his movies.
I don't know.
Okay.
He's all right. I think The Rock is better, but I think he also has more experience. Conversely, but
acting or wrestling,
both.
Okay.
I think he has more experience.
You mean The Rock has more experience?
And I also think John Cena is like, they realized what they had with The Rock, and they got the same kind of thing with John Cena, and they never made. They didn't and they didn't make him a bad guy. They always kept John Cena a good guy. He's never been bad. So it's like he came in and he's almost always been a good guy. A couple of times they like teased that he would be bad, but he's always been good. And I don't know. That's how he debuted. Kurt Angle came out and wanted to fight anybody in the back. John Cena came out and fucking beat him for like the U.S. title. Like they don't just put a belt on a guy that pops out of the fucking locker room unless they know like this guy is gonna be the shit.
Right.
And like that's a gamble, you know. It's risk versus reward. The same thing with doing that shooting star press off the top rope and almost breaking your neck. Like that could have backfired profusely. It did. That guy's the biggest star in the company. Yeah. They tried to do the same shit with Roman Reigns, and people just didn't give a fuck. You know, there's people that hated John Cena for a million years, but he sells 1 million T-shirts. Kids love him. You know, like it's really about what sells the merchandise. For that, it's all about merchandising.
Sure. Yeah, and it's some of the merchandise that I wind up, you know, because I wind up buying like I'll get a bag of toys, and there are like 2 action figures I know I can turn around, but then I wound up with this like fucking weird gorilla and a wrestler. I think it was Cowboy Bob Orton's kid.
Randy Orton.
Yeah, Randy Orton, and like it was like they had these like rubber arms and they had huge fists, and he like fights a gorilla in this set. I guess I don't know. I didn't really get very much.
Do you think that that's nepotism? The guy's a great wrestler.
See, you know, when we were talking about that earlier, the first thing I thought of was Will Smith's kid.
That's nepotism.
Oh, that's nepotism.
That kid sucks.
How is he any different than The Rock? He grew up around the business.
Because he's not any good at it. The Rock is good at it.
Exactly. The Rock is talented.
See,
it has to do with being
I only saw The Karate Kid.
Oh, watch After Earth. You won't be disappointed.
Okay. And I mean, he was a kid actor. I mean, he was adequate.
Maybe he'll be. Listen, the jury's out. You're a kid, you know.
Yeah.
The shit that I did when I was even 20, I think, is the fucking worst shit ever. And that's the shit that people unfortunately remember the most. Those are the songs. The first fucking 11 songs I wrote are the songs people come to a show. Oh, are you gonna play this? No! But that's what people remember. But
do you ever revisit and like...
Yeah, I did. I did a whole album like where we just re-recorded all the old songs because people kept asking for them and they were like of kind of mediocre-ish quality, so we just redid the whole like 7-Year Itches, the Bad Hormones album where we just went over all the old shit. But they...
you have way too much material. I cannot keep up.
Well, that's the thing. It's like people remember all this shit that's kind of like mediocre. I think I've grown into like a songwriter that's, I don't know, better than I was. I'll say I've improved. I don't think I'm great, but I think I've improved at my craft since the shit that everybody like kind of knows me for. But like our first album, dude, I sold more copies of the first Bad Hormones CD online. We pressed more more copies of that than anything else. Huh. People kept ordering it. It was like a thing. Like we had like a really good momentum. I just fucking torpedoed it with my attitude and fucking my idiosyncrasies.
I thought you weren't healthy at the time either.
Well, no, I became unhealthy like later on, but I was you know what? I was like covered in psoriasis. Like I was like pretty fucking miserable and just wanted to die.
So do you think you had a little momentum? Like, oh, that guy's legit. He was with Bobby Steele. I mean, you think that was like part of the
fun? Think that helped. Yeah, for sure. But I also think too for what it was a good. For 5 guys in a fucking room partying and writing
I gotta
a
look
rock
back
album.
To see if I have the first record.
It's a fun record. Like it's.
Is that the one with Zombie Holocaust on it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
that's the first song I ever wrote.
Nice.
That I used that as part of your ringtone when you called me in that outfit. Yeah. I like that song. It's crazy. Anyway.
That's good.
But yeah, that's like the first song that I ever wrote.
Wow, that's
funny. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's the shit everybody remembers. It's not.
And I used it for a promo for your last Bad Hormones gig, but then I put some like P-Funk on it, and you pulled it because you were afraid to get pulled down. But I used Zombie Holocaust in the background because I was like, I want the most punk like thing I could find. So I listened. You know, I scanned.
You know where that song came from?
Where's that?
Well, I couldn't play and sing, so that's why it goes Zombie Holocaust,
Right?
Because I couldn't play and sing that for some reason in some way.
Found a good workaround.
It was just like it was like the first song I ever wrote. Like this would be a good song, and then like I have to learn to play and sing, and that's why it's just because I was like these chords are close together. You know, it's the same chords, but I just hold them longer so that I don't have to sing and worry about changing. It's the most like
So it was like a workaround to your
and the chords in the
tick.
song are just the fucking na 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 na, but then I just hold na 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 na. It's the same four chords like, but just played in different patterns.
Right.
Or the same pattern, but at different speeds.
Yeah, but that's most punk rock. Like, I think that's the entire Subhuman.
But that's not knowing how to write a song.
Right.
Like that's when I would just write songs out of like, oh, this sounds cool. I'm like, whatever, and show it to the guys. Like, yeah, that's good. Like we'd play it. That was a song.
Right.
And then I like learned like music theory, and I learned they're all different shit. And like it was like it pulled back the curtain. And instead of it being like an old man controlling like a cool face, it's like a fucking naked old woman controlling that scary big Wizard of Oz face, you know? Like it's a mix of the Wizard of Oz and The Shining. And like it just ruins songwriting for me. I could just write whatever. So if somebody says write a song about the Hills Have Eyes, okay, I can write a song about those eyes.
I like the challenge of it, of doing something like that. Like, I don't know, like when like I don't know, like, you know, one of my favorite atomic disasters memories. Like, I was living in Lake Hiawatha, and Ant's like, I'm gonna come over, we're gonna songwrite, and he shows us the mouse. He's like, we're writing a song about pulled pork. I was like, okay. So I'm on the internet trying to just get some key phrases, and Pig Pickin' as a festival. And we sat, we wrote the song, and I made it double entendre, and you know, so like, what was the point? I don't know. What were we talking about?
I'll throw in this. I looked around for so many years, and I took like horror movies and
just coming up with a song on the spot. Somebody saying, write a song about this, and then I just, you know, I did it. But if I don't know about a subject, because I always try to do two things and have a parallel between two things.
Exactly. That's
like
what I did with a lot of my
and
songs.
Food.
But nobody gets it. Everybody just gets, it's like, oh, this is a song about aliens. It's like, no, it's not. It's about my fear of potentially being a father. Like, something rides inside a parasite showing signs of life. Yeah, okay, on its surface, that's about aliens. But
it's like any kind of writing, and I'm sure Phil can attest to this. Like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers was the Red Scare, you know, it was an allegory of that. Or
I mean,
it's almost like a literary device to have something be an analogy of something else.
It's like what you were saying about songwriting. I had a friend who went to film school and said that it ruined movies for them forever. So it's kind of the same thing you said about songwriting. But for me, I like to look beyond the curtain. I like to because I feel like, you know, there's even worlds beyond that. It's kind of like the one thing that I like about writing is that it doesn't have a bottom. You know, you're always going to be refining it like a Japanese sword maker, hopefully for the rest of my life. You know, and I would think that songwriting might be the same thing if you're really dedicated to it. So that's kind of another thing. But there's only about, I forget, you can look up a master plots or something like that. There's like 17
or 7.
There's like 10 maybe actual plots. Like a lot of them come from mythology, a lot of them come from Shakespeare and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, the coming of age story, the fish out of water, boy meets girl, boy loses girl.
Yeah, you can sum almost every movie or literary
Frankenstein is
and then
one.
Most movies have what they call a MacGuffin, the thing that moves the story along, the object of.
It's everything,
you know,
that
whether it's
everyone's chasing after.
Yeah,
whether it's the Holy Grail or actually, I think the shark is actually the MacGuffin in Jaws.
It's not every movie. There's a lot of coming of age stories and people fucking up.
Well,
their
no, the
lives.
MacGuffin in a coming of age story, I always feel like it's like the message. Whatever they come to at the end, it's like, oh yeah, love doesn't matter. Whatever their shit is.
Or like Jerry Maguire bullshit, like you complete me. That's MacGuffin. That's like the two people need to.
What the fuck? How does Jerry Maguire end? I'll tell you the MacGuffin. Just tell me the end.
I don't know. He does really well with his client, and he goes back to his wife that he married out of convenience because he is in love with her. I don't know.
Well, and that's what it is.
Is it
Well, no, that's the.
or
It
is
was
he in love with it?
no. It was the prince. The two people from two different classes get together under strange circumstances.
Right. That is a movie.
But they fall in love. But
I don't know. Fuck Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, really.
I like that movie. Who's the director's pretty good. That's the dude who did
Show me
Almost
the
Famous,
money.
right?
Show me the money.
That's,
Is that the movie with Cuba Gooding?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Cuba Gooding sucks when he plays anybody in sports. He was the shittiest OJ.
He was kind
Oh
of shitty.
God, I couldn't get through it.
Why
I
wouldn't
stopped
they?
watching it.
Couldn't they cast fucking Terry Crews or somebody that actually looks like an athletic person instead of Cuba Gooding Jr. is like, oh, I'm O.J. Simpson. He's like a little tiny guy.
He was an older O.J. Simpson, so I thought.
Fuck that! He
Terry
didn't-
Crews would be too.
But he didn't look like a fucking guy that played football. He looked like a guy that would fucking do whatever, like drive a cab or something. Like, he looked like a normal fucking guy.
Cooper just did it for the check, man.
Yeah, it was all
don't need that money, and he's
All
gonna
right,
sully
let's tie the whole show together nice and neat. Where we're at. Cast, like if they do like a WWF story, like movie.
They
who
just
would you
cast
who?
They just cast Chris Hemsworth as Hulk Hogan.
Okay, that's a good one.
Would I cast Chris Hemsworth? No. I don't know who I would cast in the WWF. Like, yeah, maybe I guess Chris Hemsworth. Like,
Who would play Piper? Like, who the hell do you get for that?
Oh God.
Piper, you get.
Somebody demented.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
No.
Get him all buff.
No, Jake Gyllenhaal. No. What's his name? Magic Mike. That guy.
Oh.
I think that guy would.
Nah, he's too big. Piper was a little chunky.
I think that guy would play a good Piper, man.
What about Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds, yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds
all jacked out.
Like Piper wasn't in bad shape, but he wasn't.
You gotta get a Canadian. I mean, Piper was a Canadian guy. I don't know why they have an Australian playing Hulk Hogan, but I think he could kind of pull it off. Chris Hemsworth.
I think he's just a big blonde guy that can make the mustache happen. That's all.
Yeah. I don't know. It's.
But I really think there should be some sort of.
It's so tough to even say you would cast somebody like Hulk Hogan because Hulk Hogan, trying to cast him in his prime, dude, he was like 300 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And 6'8". There's nobody that's. Even Chris Hemsworth at his biggest, I would never look at him and go, oh, he looks just like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters. I think you need to get a Jason. I mean, we were talking about The Dirt last week, and the guy that got to play Mick Mars was far better looking than the real Mick Mars. But I mean, you know, and like
think about a movie. I like The Wrestler because it wasn't based on.
I've never seen it. I knew you were gonna bring it up, and I was hoping it was on streaming, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, you gotta watch that. That's like a movie like. Mickey Rourke to me looks like a dude in that movie that's been in the wrestling business for whatever 25, 30 years.
He's really weathered in that movie.
He's jacked, but he's like old dude jacked where he's definitely on the juice.
You see,
but
he's been phoning it in for the last 10 years.
Not on that movie.
But he got an Oscar on that one, right?
Dude, that movie was, and I'll tell you what, Mickey Rourke is like. I don't think he takes movies if he doesn't like the script. I think he's one of those guys.
Iron Man 2 was a total payday.
I think he liked
it in.
No, he did that cool accent.
He totally.
He's been in a lot of other movies.
I don't know. I saw him in this movie where
my bud.
Where he was like fucking Megan Fox and she had angel wings or some crap. That was really stupid, but it was fun. I don't know. I'll watch Mickey Rourke read the phone book, dude.
Me too.
Wait, who?
Eric
who's
Roberts
he with angel wings?
Megan Fox.
In what movie?
I think it was called like fucking.
When I think of Mickey Rourke, I think I'll
look it up. You'll find it.
All right, I'll Google that. Yeah, I'm sorry, that wasn't.
No, I couldn't even remember the title because it was that stupid. Bill Murray's in it.
Was Megan Fox the one in Jennifer's Body?
Yes.
I like that.
I used to fuck.
But I
a
like the
girl
blonde.
just like her.
I like the blonde
Me
better
too.
though, because she's
I fucked a girl that looked just like her too.
she's like kind of. I don't know. I like a little meat on the bones. Like I don't
Like
like
a
when a
curvy.
girl's too skinny. Yeah. But like I don't know. Once it starts to look like this, then I get unless they have a good personality or a hot mouth. I sound like a dick. I'm sorry.
Hot mouth.
I'll go with your
I
thing.
think on that note,
Yeah.
we're gonna get out.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. We love you. And oh yeah.
Thanks for coming to the wrestling show. Now go
We're
wrestling.
gonna have an intern, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get one soon. That's the rumor.
Rumor has it. Is there?
We hope you enjoyed our presentation of Cult of Contempt podcast. If you have any questions or comments, or want to hear your band on the show, just write us at cultofcontemptpodcast@gmail.com, or check us out on Instagram or right here on Facebook. On behalf of Paul and Phil, I want to thank you for listening. We'll see you next week at 8:15. I'm Jim Cook. Transmission out.